Majority of women had traumas, like naive, it's easy to manipulate this stuff. I would have been manipulated. I don't think she's in love with him. I think she created a fantasy of him. I think it's just this whole equality, we are the same and stuff like that. It just kind of led us to this kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
And nobody's happy. Everyone's breaking up.
Hello and welcome to the Black Swan Live. And you know who I am. I'm Chengi. I'm your dating and relationship expert here at the Black Swan Relationship Academy. Can I get an amen? And I have with me our coach, Yvonne. You know who she is.
Hi.
Wave, Yvonne. And we have, everybody knows who this woman is. You cannot be in the Black Swan Relationship Academy and not know who Greta is. And if you don't know who Greta is, I'm going to tell you who she is. She is, for me, the #1 dating strategist in the world. I mean, I'm not even joking. This is the chick I go to verify my moves, and I always win, okay? Greta, if there's anything you need to know about a man, how to move around a man, you definitely want to speak to Greta. And it's always such a pleasure. And I'm so blessed to have her as a friend, to be able to call her, pray with her, have fun with her. If you've seen us on our socials, we do so much together. She's a very dear friend to me. And so it's such a pleasure that she's come today, and even put my Uggs on and my denim because I know she loves to be casual, even though she's gorgeous. And so we're going to talk today. I'm going to ask her some questions, and Yvonne is going to chip in and ask her any questions I forget to ask her or tease her or do something. Welcome to the channel, Greta.
Go for it. Fire up. I'm ready.
She's ready.
I'm ready. Thank you so much, Chengi. You're such a love. It's so amazing to have you as a friend. You're such a blessing.
Oh,
thank you for coming into my life.
Oh, let's all cry. Be grateful. Now you're gonna have to pay for this friendship because I'm gonna ask you so many questions that I know our viewers want to know, and I know you're gonna have the best answers. Now, Greta, we have a situation in the relationship world where being taken for granted is real, and it's happening quite quickly in relationships. Whether it's dating, you're dating a guy and you can hardly finish breathing before he's taking you for granted. The effort goes down the window, the investment goes down the window, and of course we can all hate the men and say they're just idiots. What's happening with the men? But what is actually happening with us and the men? Can you explain how women get taken for granted? What is the main reason in your practice you find women find themselves being taken for granted?
Thank you so much for this lovely question, which is insanely common nowadays. You're completely right. And what is the reason? The reason usually is when we as women, we don't behave as women, we start to behave as a man, or we become too nice. So if you will start to behave as a man, for example, masculine, and you start to pursue, chase a guy, take the lead, tell him what to do, he will start to see that you are too interested in him.
Right.
And what men love, we love a challenge. We love because we have a lot of testosterone. We are goal oriented, so we like to pursue and chase. And these are the women we usually interested in. So when you actually take the lead and you don't allow him to be a man, he starts to lose interest in you. And when he starts to lose interest in you, he starts to take you for granted. So this is one of the reasons. The second reason is usually when you give too much.
Right.
When you start to go out of your way to please him, he's like, oh, I already got her. And when you start to feel safe and secure, and he starts to take you for granted.
Right.
So these are a couple reasons in the beginning of dating. The third reason is usually when you start to wear your heart on a sleeve too quickly.
Right.
And you start to share with him how you feel.
Right.
So perhaps he was charming you, was telling you how amazing you are. I'm so into you. I perhaps have feelings for you, or you're so amazing, etc. And a woman gets charmed. She thinks he's the one, and she starts to wear her heart on a sleeve. And he's like, okay, I've got her. And then she pursues and chases him, and he starts to take her for granted. So the most important thing is to be aware of yourself and aware of what it is to be a woman and how to behave as a woman.
Right.
As nowadays we actually are not taught how to be a woman. And what a woman is, and what should be a woman's behavior to keep a guy interested in her. We actually thought the opposite. It's we are equal, copy a guy. And when you copy a guy, he ends up dating another guy, and he's losing interest, and he's not even aware that he's losing interest.
Right.
So that's kind of
You're right.
That's like the most common thing.
And how about, for instance, in a marriage, Yvonne's married, what would get her husband to, because obviously she was doing something right to get to the marriage, right? What would make her husband
To take her for
start
granted.
taking a wife for
Yeah.
granted? What are some of the things that wives do that might...
So the most important is not to lose yourself and to keep your hobbies, the things that you like to do, and not to put your husband on a pedestal. And I don't mean like not to be nice. I think you should be nice and you should be pleasant to one another and you should compliment each other and help each other out and laugh and all of that. I don't mean like be cold and stuff like that. But just kind of keep your own interest. And if you feel like he needs a bit of space, he's not giving you that much attention, like don't be in his space, like looking for that attention, perhaps nagging or attention seeking. Oh, you don't text me, you don't call me, let's talk about it. You know, if he wants his space and you're like saying, let's talk about it, that's the last thing he wants to do. You know, also another thing, you know, me and Chengi had this conversation when Chengi was visiting. You know, I think she was just asking me a question, what about like cooking and cleaning? What if a woman cooks and cleans? Should she not like cook and clean? I'm like, yeah, of course she can if you complement each other and he does things around the house. But you should not be doing it like as a mother to a child, you know, as in like, oh, baby, what would you like? Did you like this meal? You know, he's like not a child, he's a man. You know, if he's appreciative, he'll tell you it's nice, delicious, and he appreciates it. But you don't need to be like, oh, you know, like all that, and like, oh, is it nice? Oh, is it? Because then it's like, it's a bit like, you know, a bit like a childlike behavior. So if you need to do your chores, cook that meal, but do it like you have to do it as a wife rather than I'm doing it to please you, especially if he's in a place that he's kind of a bit like taking you for granted and stuff. If he's all appreciative, like you can be like, okay, this is great. But if he's not, you do it because it's your duty. And he needs to feel like you're doing it like it's your duty, not because you're pleasing him. That's when you'll be like, actually, maybe I am a bit too rough with her. Maybe I need to be a bit sweeter.
Yeah.
You know, but if you're too sweet, you'll just be like, it's all fine. She's not complaining. She's still so sweet to me. So, you know, I'm the king of the castle. You jump, you know, like jump. So, yeah.
You know, it's funny you say that. A very wise person, not sitting a million miles away from me, once said that the things that you speak to your friends about, you know, I like going to the theatre, and I can call Chengi and say, let's go, you know, fancy going to the theatre, or I want to go to a book signing or whatever it is that I want to do. I know I can go with her. And if I say to my husband, I want to go to the theatre, he'll come, but he'll sulk. So do the things that you love doing with your girlfriends and do the things that you love doing together with your husband.
Yeah.
And it's not a case of never the twain shall meet, but it's a case of where you're giving of you and made space of you for them in the things that you want to do with each of them, than me dragging him to, you know, almost kicking and screaming, you know, to accompany me. And that way it makes for a peaceful home, because he knows, like today, for instance, he knows I'm out with Chengi. When I go home, I'll say to him, oh, you never guess what we did, and I told him what happened, etc. And then, oh, that's great. It's something for us to talk about. And, you know, he's thinking, I don't have to sit.
For the day. Good. It's a good thing she's got interests of her own.
Yeah.
She doesn't have to take her for
so.
granted.
Very much so.
Absolutely.
He needs his space to miss you and to appreciate you.
Very much so.
Because men actually, I know you're married, but if you were dating or in a relationship, men actually realize their feelings for a woman when we miss her. You know, when you're not there, that's when we actually like reflect on it and we go like, oh, I miss her. I think about her. Let's give it a longer time. You know, and he's like, oh, I can't get, you know, I'm still thinking about her. Maybe I actually do have feelings for her.
Right.
You know,
Right.
whereas we kind of in touch with our feelings all the time.
Right.
So when we with him, we know we already like him. You know, so it's good to give him space from time to time, just to, you know, be boyish and forget about you. But once he gets over his boyish time, you know, like he'll be like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be
It'd be
like,
good
I
to
miss
have
my
space.
wife. Yeah.
It's interesting because it's almost like what you do in dating is an extension of what you do in marriage.
Yeah.
Because everything you've
Yeah.
said, you have to have your own life in dating and all these things. But I think what happens with women is we get married and we think, forget my actual life, ditch my friends, ditch my life, ditch my stuff. Of course, they can't have the same level of priority, but I think it sounds like an extension. Now, Greta, another question for you. I had a question from one of our followers who said, what's wrong with, she's dating, and she said, what's wrong with cooking for a man? You know, why are you saying that he must always take me out for dates and, you know, or is it okay for me to cook for him? What is the balance? Is there a balance? What is the rule? What is Greta's rule for women who kind of play wife before they're married? What's the rule here? Can you cook? Should you not cook? What should you do? Throw pizza in his face? What do you do?
You know, when I was a child, about 8 or 10, I used to play that I'm a wife and my friend is my husband as well.
Okay.
You know, we used to have this party, you know, and we have
Yeah.
kids and I was about 8,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if I identify myself as a wife now, or I play a wife, it doesn't make me a wife, right? So if I'm, let's say, dating a guy and I'm behaving as a wife and he's behaving as my husband,
Doesn't
and then like I meet my parents and I say, Dad, this guy is like behaving like my husband and I'm behaving as his wife. My dad will be like, Greta, I don't remember being to your wedding. You know, so it's like, it's just, I think it's kind of a bit of a manipulation. You know, it's like, oh, but I'm behaving as a husband, you should behave as a wife. Yeah, but that's your choice. You know, I like to stay in my reality. You know, I'm not married, so why should I, like, you know, if you want to do this, you know? And saying that, I was thinking about it. The dating process, the dating protocol should be like the traditional way: a man dating a woman, a man charming her. You know, so
Right,
a lot of guys
right.
go like, oh, what do you bring to the table? You know, but, you know, I'm a Christian. And Christianity, a woman is a gift. You know, you're a gift. It says you're a gift from the Lord to God, from God to a man, right? So what do you bring to a table? I'm a woman. That's what I bring to a table. You
I am
know?
the whole gift.
I'm the gift. You know, what do you bring to the table? You're the man. Are you provider? Are you protector? Are you a man of good values and virtues? You know, like, I'm a gift. You know, so this kind of thing, I think it's just this whole equality, we are the same and stuff like that. It's just kind of led us to this kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
And nobody's happy. Everyone's breaking up.
Yes,
You know,
that's
so
true.
it's like, yeah, like we can play wife and a husband when I'm married. Before that, we dating. And it's very clear, like black and white, you know, like, yeah. And if you want to cook for him, I think it depends on a guy, you know, like if he's a player type, and a lot of guys are player types in major cities, a lot of them, like 90%, I would say. You know, if you'll cook for him, he'll take you for granted. And if you'll try to impress him with your cooking, a lot of times you'll be like, okay, I got her, she's cooking for me.
Right.
You know,
right.
I'm not interested, I'm bored.
Right.
You
right.
know, like, so that's kind of a player type mentality. You'll be like, oh, she's cooking for me, she's trying to impress me, she wants to marry me. And we like run,
Right,
you know, we step
right,
back, we run, or
right.
we take you for granted.
Yes.
If you are not living in, let's say, a big city, you're living somewhere a bit more grounded, and you cook for a guy, I'm pretty sure he would appreciate it and he would be nice to you and maybe would even show off your cooking, you know? So it just really depends on a guy you're dating. But you shouldn't have to do that, you know, until you're married. Or you can do it sometimes as, like, you know, as a gift or whatever, as trying to please him a little bit because he's so nice and kind to you, but not like, you know, before that. And in the beginning, it's a guy trying to impress you anyway. So what I find, like, let's say in UK, it's guys usually that cook for you because we like go like, oh, you know, like we're trying to impress you and stuff like that. So saying that is actually leading me to, you know, a lot of guys try to have it very easy. They don't want the whole dating protocol because it obviously takes time. It's investment, especially if you're dating a lot of people at the same time. It's a lot of money. And everyone wants kind of like to have it as quick as possible. So we just go like, come on over, I'll cook for you, right?
Yeah.
That's usually like, you know, it's
Yeah.
like, no, honey. There is a whole dating protocol. Like, I'll cook for you, like,
Yeah.
far, far, far away.
Yeah. We're not there yet. I appreciate it, but we're not there.
Yeah, we'll make a pizza dough together. Yeah.
I told
In
you
your
she's
dreams.
not Greta don't mess. Okay. And I
your
know, you know, I used to
dreams.
listen to Greta and think, oh gosh, she's really harsh, you know. But I realize I'm harsher, apparently. Greta's like, you're harsh. I'm like, yeah, I am. Greta's actually really sweet, but sharp. Greta was saying, you know, we can't really be cooking like, I love how you put it, because it's quite balanced, you know. It's really about the level of his investment at the end of the day, isn't
Exactly.
he? If we're talking about his behaving like a husband, is he providing for you? Is he doing husbandy things? It's not just he tells me he loves me like a husband, you know. It's not just an emotional thing. If this man is paying all your bills and your rent and keeping the head over your, and he's not married to you, well, the least you could do is probably make a dinner.
Exactly.
But they're not doing that, are they? They're taking you out on dates, and probably for 3 dates max, you know. And if it's not doing any of that, it's really about that investment of his effort. And, you know, half the time in dating protocols, it's not that heavy, is it?
A lot of times I find that guys would go like, I want you to cook for me, are the ones that are like couch potatoes, and we just kind of want to like drink their beer and pretend to be
Yeah.
a husband.
Right.
And you're like slaving in a kitchen. And he's got this whole kind of demeanor, you know? So it's actually the ones that I would even call cheap and quite vulgar and like just not appreciative, you know? Seriously, like I'm sorry.
Cheap and vulgar.
Yeah, like
Sir,
you know,
you are cheap and
we're like, oh,
Right,
I
say as you mean.
wanna drink beer, and I want you to slave in a kitchen, and then I want you to do something else for me.
Okay.
While you just sit and I just do this, you know. And it's like, okay, let's say it's your fantasy, and you think, you know, like you love this. You're not gonna love her. You'll use it, and she'll be every day cooking better and better,
Yes.
and doing the things better and better.
Exactly.
And then,
keep taking
you
it,
know, like, and you'll be like, okay, what's next, you
Yeah.
know, and be like, okay, yeah, I don't know what happened. I just fell out of love with you.
Yeah.
Or you'll hear, I did everything for him.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
he
He didn't do
disappeared.
Yes.
Yeah, he disappeared.
And that's
Like,
the thing.
it's boring.
Yeah.
It's boring.
Yeah.
Like, what else? Where is the challenge in that?
Yeah.
Guys don't admit it. Be like, oh, what challenge you're talking about? I don't want challenge. I want security. No, yeah, honey, you don't want security.
No, you want to
If you wanted security, you would be married by now. You wouldn't be
Exactly,
single. You would be married at
exactly.
bloody 18 if you wanted
Right,
security.
right,
Because
right.
girls are like, majority of girls are sweet, be naive. They're like, okay, I'll do this for him, do that for him. And when he gets all of that, I don't know, but I don't have feelings for her. Well, yeah, because she's doing everything for you, feeling safe and secure and comfortable. And that's what it is, you know, so.
I love that. If you wanted security, because there's such pushback on from you know, certain male quarters, not all men, but certain male quarters, they're very loud on the internet, that they want the same thing. They want security too. And you're absolutely right. I never thought of it that way. It's about, well, if security is truly your desire, you would have got married.
Yeah.
Because that's the most secure relationship. That is the most safe
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
So clearly it's not what you want. I absolutely love that.
Security is a woman's love need. It's not a man's love need.
Exactly.
We need security. We thrive for we are begging for security because we're vulnerable. You know, it says when a girl hits puberty, like at 13 or something, she gets a bit like vulnerable. She gets a bit psychotic. She's a bit more like, oh, you know, the boys get more confident. We get more like, oh, I'm a man. I like, because we're full of testosterone by then.
Right.
So a woman is actually looking for a man because she wants security. She wants to feel safe. She wants that protection. A man doesn't want that protection and
Right.
security from you.
Right.
And you can't do that anyway.
Yeah.
You're not a
Yes.
man.
Yeah.
You know, so it's we just made believe so much. We have so much influence of just completely stupid advice
Yes.
that we fall for.
And it's pervasive. It's everywhere. I'm going to ask you another question. something a little bit different because we've figured out the formula for being taken for granted and not to do it. So if you didn't listen, rewind. And I know Greta's voice is really soft, so you gotta put the volume up and listen to everything she said. So Greta, is there a possibility that a woman can stop a man from cheating? Can a woman prevent a man from cheating on her?
So I think there are two reasons why men cheat. Number one is if he doesn't have strong values. You know, if he has really, really strong values, probably no matter how the woman is behaving, he will stay faithful. Maybe it's his beliefs or something like that, right? The second reason is like, men don't cheat on women we love because it's too risky to lose her. So we cheat on women we're losing attraction for, or we take for granted. So you kind of need to reflect on yourself, like what is the relationship like between you and him? Is he taking you for granted? Are you acting needy? Are you acting controlling? Are you screaming and shouting? Are you blaming him for everything? Are you behaving like a guy? Are you calling and pursuing him? Are you telling him what to do, where to go? You know, it's like you have to reflect back on these things, and if you see that actually you are behaving quite unattractive, well then you know why he's kind of starting to avoid you.
Yes.
And then, you know, going to the left, as we say, you know. So
Or you're being too nice, for want of a better word, because even that in itself is unattractive.
Yeah.
Do you know, at the beginning it was great, but come on now. You know, there's only so much of, you know, oh, I'll cook, I'll clean, I'll be your, you know, let me take your shoes off, let me. And
That's
yeah,
right.
it's very much
That's
so.
right.
It's, and unfortunately, I don't think that we as women understand that men smell that desperation on us. And that is not an attractive smell. And if you're hoping that this thing is going to, you know, go the distance, it won't do because you're not behaving. It's, as you said earlier, he's supposed to chase you. You're the prize. You're the person that he's supposed to be after.
Let's use the word gift because
The
prize
gift,
is triggering
yes,
to the people.
sorry, you're the gift. You know, the man says when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. So, you know, you've got to put yourself in that position where you can be found and be favorable. Not being his mother, which is another turn off when you're, you know, doing everything for them, and being too nice.
Exactly.
I think that being taken for granted piece, and what I really love about your first comment about his own personal values and virtues, there's no getting away from that. I think that if you don't check when you're vetting and selecting about a man's values and virtues, and that's not he goes to church, because a lot of dirty people go to church. Like his actual values, does integrity mean anything to him? What does it mean to him? What is the value of his name, the honor of his name? What is, you know, what does his behavior really mean? If you don't check for that, or he doesn't have those kind of values about himself, it doesn't really matter what you do. But if he has those values and you act needy, thirsty, funny, you can push that good guy to go to thing. You know what I'm saying? Or you're giving him inspiration to go out there, right? But yeah, absolutely. I love that. I think that's definitely the truth. And I definitely want us to talk about this reel that you put out the other day. I watch all your reels, by the way. They're brilliant. Go and watch Greta's reels. Okay, she'll tell you where to find her before we end, but you need to watch all her reels because they're like a whole class. And you were talking about something that you've been seeing in your practice lately. I don't know how long it's been going on. I think it's been going on quite a lot, but some things I find in the game, because Greta is all about, she knows the game. If I need to know what's going on the streets, I'm going to Greta because she'll know the latest thing going on. So it appears as though from your reel that this game seems to be it's steaming up, and that is really the diminishing of women. So what, as a beautiful woman, assuming that all of our swans are beautiful and all our viewers are beautiful, what are some of the things that are happening to a beautiful woman based on your experience?
The reel you're talking about.
You know it?
I'm like, which one? And I'm going over like
the beautiful
50
woman.
reels.
Like 100,000 reels I've done. What are you
talking about?
So if you're a beautiful woman, there's something that you said you need to watch out for that men are doing.
I find this is very common. So So I'm not gonna put any names now, but like there's a lot of pickup artist books written for men, especially for geeky men, for insecure men, because these guys don't really know how to get the girls. We don't have the experience, the confidence, all of that. So in a lot of these books basically says, put a beautiful woman down, negate her slightly.
Right.
You know, so you go, let's say you meet a guy, right, and you see he seems fine, he's a bit awkward, he looks a bit of a geeky type, and you automatically think, okay, he's a bit geeky, you know, I'm a bit older, he's a bit geeky, it could work because he's probably a nice guy.
Yes.
Right? Think again. Yeah.
Because he read the book.
Because you read the book, and when you start to date him, and you're like, are you really that stupid? And then you're like, it doesn't make sense to be that stupid. You know?
Yeah.
And then it's basically, you just see like so many signs where he's playing dumb, but you kind of give him an excuse because you think, oh, maybe he's a bit geeky, maybe he doesn't put it together, you know, and then it's like, it doesn't make sense. You can't be that stupid, right? So yeah, there's a lot of games in pickup artist books. All the girls need to do is just like get some just for your own knowledge, just to protect yourself from this type of stuff. But it's one of the keys, put a beautiful woman down. And I find that so the reason it works to some women is because if a woman was damaged, not damaged, but she had like some sort of insecurities or traumatic experiences or like a
Right.
toxic upbringing or something like that, a lot of abuse in a family, and she's pretty and she meets a guy and he's like not telling her how amazing she is and all of that, and he's actually putting her down. Because of her traumas, she like the trauma bonding kind of thing, she will relate to that and she'll get intrigued, and it will be like a bit like a safety for her. You know, so she might get interested in a guy like that. A woman that's a healthy woman that didn't have a toxic upbringing, she's used to getting compliments. She knows her worth. She knows what she looks like. Even if she's not the most beautiful one, you know, she still had a lot of praise about her personality or achievements. And she knows her worth. So when a guy does that to her, she doesn't feel comfortable with it. She walks away feeling kind of not good, yucky, you know, and she's like, I can't date this. I don't feel good. I don't, it doesn't resonate with me, you know? So yes, it does work with a lot of girls nowadays, especially because a lot of people unfortunately had a lot of abusive and toxic upbringing, but it doesn't work with everyone. But what's interesting nowadays, I actually find that guys that maybe had quite a bit of game when we were younger, or were like quite good looking and confident and all of that, and you would see him and you'd be like, oh, this is a bad boy, right? And when you meet a guy that's like a geeky type and he read all these pickup artist books, the guy that's confident and that's good looking, I find nowadays it's a better match than the geeky guy. Because the
Interesting.
geeky ones, because of these books, they go so creepy
Right.
that is just like it's absolutely shocking. It's so disgusting. It's absolutely shocking.
Wow.
You know, so it's actually this bad boy type that figured out the game himself.
Right.
You know, like it's actually more reasonable kind of.
In the way that he administers the
because a lot of times these guys are like, oh, I know how to do it, I'm quite confident and stuff like that, so he has more common sense, so he might use a game here and there, but he's not gonna go in depth of those
and do the book
books
page by
and
page.
like do page by page, line by line, and just go like from geek to something completely toxic.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
But you know, when you said they're reading the book and they're getting game, are they successful?
yes, very, 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 very successful, because majority of women had traumas. But we do get the girls like between 20 to 30, like naive, you know, it's easy to manipulate this stuff. I would have been manipulated in my 20s.
For sure.
Oh, like
I
that.
was, for sure.
Easily. Easily, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, and you did a reel. Better go watch her reels, because she did a reel on being naive yesterday, and I
Yeah.
thought, my gosh, this is so true. When you're naive, they'll take advantage and they'll bugger off. And you would think if you're naive, they're going to want to protect. And this is so sad that the world has become this way, because there
Yeah.
was a time in history where being naive and sweet just came with so much protection. But I think that protection came from the father, the brothers, the world of the woman, not necessarily from the men outside. But we don't have that anymore, sadly. So before I let you go, Greta, I have a question from one of our followers. Her name is Eleanor. Thought I'd leave that for you so you could help her out. She's probably tired of hearing from me. So Eleanor says, hello. I'm a 24-year-old lady, and there's something that has really been stressing me. I need to seek clarity from you. There's a gentleman I met 1 year ago, and we became friends. We used to communicate daily and even went out twice. I had already started liking him, and I thought that was the same case for him. We suddenly stopped talking. I reached out to him once in a while, and if I don't, he won't take the initiative. I'm in love with this guy, and I can't get him out of my mind. I'm afraid to reveal this to him because I'm not sure what his reaction would be. Please advise me. Regards, Eleanor. Can you give Eleanor some advice?
Some
please,
advice.
Greta?
So, for me personally, and I recommend it to clients as well, I consider guys that are interested in me. I don't go like, oh, he's
Right.
hot,
Right.
and my eyes are on him.
Right.
Like, it doesn't happen
Right.
ever. Like,
Right.
it could be 20 hot guys in a club. I
Right.
couldn't care less.
Right.
If you'll approach me when I'll see your interest, then I'll be considering you.
Right. Right.
You know, so this girl seems like she's kind of with this guy. She created an image, an idea about him, you know, and she's kind of thinking like, how can I win him? You know, it's just like, it's a man that finds his wife. You know, you're a gift, you sit and chill. You know, whoever approaches you, you pick from
That's your-
that guy. Yeah, that's your choices. You want choices? Like, you have different choices from the guys that approach you. I don't think she's in love with him. I think she created a fantasy of him. And I think a lot of women do that. And I used to do that myself in my 20s. You know, so let's say you want to be in a relationship, or you watch whatever Disney movies you watch, you know, all these chick flicks, and you meet a guy and you just kind of create all these fantasies.
That's right.
And then you fall in love with the fantasy rather than reality. In reality, we're just friends and we've been on 2 dates. You know, so that's it. And she's saying she's in love with him. She's not in love with him. She's in love with the fantasy and what could potentially happen.
Right.
You know, so I would say definitely don't tell him you love him, because he'll probably step back even more, and then you'll feel embarrassed. You know, it's more like try and get over the fantasy in your head.
Right.
And get some like clarence, so clear out that fog that you created. You know, what actually he said, what you said, what were your dates like, you know, and just look at the action. And when you look at the action, you know, then you'll see what's actually there.
Yeah, believe it. Don't tell yourself stories. Just look at the
exactly.
actual. This is
what's going on.
Yeah.
I find actually this is kind of, if we still got a bit of time, I find that guys, that's another game that guys love to play. We love putting fantasies in your head because we know it works on women. So we go like, this is how the charmers work. So you get guys that nag at you and we put you down, right? And then the other extreme is like fantasies in your head, right? So it's like, oh, you know, oh, you're so beautiful. I never met anyone like you. Oh, have you been to Dubai? Oh, have you been to Bali? Oh, you haven't? Let's go over and feed the monkeys together. It will be so much fun, you know? And you're like, yeah, you know, and you imagine him and you like in Bali feeding monkeys, and there's already fantasy which actually never happened in reality, you know? But you go home with this fantasy and you think about it. You're like, oh, it would be so nice if we were in Bali and he's so sweet and he thinks I'm so pretty and he's so blah blah. So you create this fantasy, right? And then we don't know what he said to her, this friend. We don't know what type of words he used. Maybe he was dropping seeds as he was going along to kind of, you know, leave something there for her to catch on. And she expanded the seed, you know, and now she's like, I'm in love. So guys are cheeky.
Yes, and it's interesting. What do you think, Yvonne? Is there anything that she could... really quickly, you could add to what Greta said. Is there anything you want to add?
No, the only thing that I thought when Greta said that is that, and I think it's something that men do as well, is when they say your wife material after the second date. Do you know,
I would marry you.
Yes, your wife material, and your head goes from, he's not even your type.
Yes.
You went out with him.
Yes,
just
that
because,
happens a lot.
somebody says something, but he used the W word.
Yes,
and
the
you
big
think,
W word.
I'm in.
Or the M word.
Yes. Your wife material, and she then becomes nice. And not only does she become nice, she becomes wife.
Yes.
After the second date. So he doesn't take her out anymore. He doesn't.
The second date is wifing.
Yes, very much so.
I identify myself.
Very much
Absolutely.
So,
Oh, I love that. I love that you brought that insight into it, Greta, because I never saw it, actually, the seeding. I saw the stories we tell ourselves, for sure. But that piece where you're like, actually, men seed that. And the moment you said that, and then Yvonne was talking about the wife thing, I was like, I think I've had that played out. Yeah. And like all my clients were like running before. I was thinking, oh, okay. Because I know that, look, we tell ourselves stories as women, but the seeding part, it's quite clever, and only Greta would know. Greta's like, I can tell you a few things, and I would love for you to tell me a few things. You're going to have to come back next time, Greta, because we're going to have to have you here constantly, because you have so much wisdom. But alas, we've run out of time, annoyingly, but it is what it is. Now, Greta, tell us about your book.
Oh,
and that you were supposed to bring, that I was supposed to remind you to bring, Devoted Relationships. Beautiful book. Tell us where we can get it. Tell us a little bit about what it's about, and where we can find you on our socials, and where we can book you for some help.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I have a little book. It's basically how to be the best version of yourself in a relationship. It's called Devoted Relationships, How to Have a Happy, Healthy Relationship. It's available on Amazon, and it's also available on my website, which is called gretabereisaite.com. If you liked what you heard, I'm available for coaching. You can book one-on-one with me, or I have lots of different packages on my website. And my socials, I have quite a few. So my YouTube is quite active. I have a lot of valuable advice there. And Instagram, I'm on it all the time. And if you just want to see the videos on Facebook, it's there as well. So yeah,
absolutely.
I'm quite everywhere.
She's worth a binge. Go and binge, everywhere. And then pick up the phone and go to your internet and book her. And make sure you get those hours in with Greta. Because she will totally change your love life. I will go to Greta and be like, girl, give me the full 101 on this guy I'm dating. And she'll give me a read on him. So she comes highly recommended. Thank you so much for coming. And we will put all of her links in the description in case you didn't catch when she said. And we will see you again on our next episode. In the meantime, do take care of you. Love you lots.
Thank you.
Bye for now.